الله سلام الله على طه رسول الله صلاة الله سلام الله على ياسين حبيب الله.
Atheists in general assume that they have no actual commitments or beliefs. They think that they are, they often say this actually, that atheism just means a lack of belief. And I mean, in one sense, it's true. It's a lack of a certain kind of theological belief, but that doesn't mean that atheists have no beliefs. No, they have plenty of commitments, plenty of beliefs that can be criticized, that can be critiqued, and shown to be contradictory or incoherent. So atheists have developed many times that, first of all, often they're very arrogant. That's a pretty standard characteristic of atheists that I have come across. They're very arrogant, and they also have this false sense of security that I don't have to worry about defending my beliefs. I can just go on the attack. I can just criticize other religions and other belief systems because I don't have beliefs. So if you think that, if you don't have anything to defend, it actually makes you bolder and less cautious in trying to attack others. And this is what a lot of atheists do. So it's very critical, if you're ever in a conversation with an atheist, that you need to be on the offensive. Don't just play defense. You have to play both offense and defense. But offense is extremely important to be able to win those kinds of debates and conversations. The thing about atheists, and this is what I teach at Al-Asna, and in general when I talk about atheism, is that atheists are liberal secularists. That's their ideology, that's their worldview, that's what they really believe. So all of their morality, their understanding of politics and government, their understanding of history and the kind of trajectory of history, all of that is colored by this liberal secular philosophy. And that is fertile ground for critique and debate, because it's a very ugly philosophy, and it's a very has an extremely bloody, gruesome history. So there's plenty to mine within that philosophy. So whenever, this is just the tip, when you want to debate atheists, you have to go at liberal secularism. The problem with that, or the difficulty with that, is that liberal secularism is also the basis of many people's understanding of the world who are otherwise religious. So you have liberal Muslims, obviously, you have secular Muslims, you have secular or liberal Christians and Jews. That's liberal secularism is the dominant ideology or philosophy of the entire world, so much so that it's taken as common sense. And I recently made a video about this issue, very short, 11-minute video about offensive jihad and jihad al-talab. Basically, how do we defend as Muslims the fact that Islam historically, or from the very beginning, what we see in the Quran, what we see in the Sunnah, Islam is expansionist and is conquering and is taking control of territories. From the time of the Prophet ﷺ. How can we explain this? And it's a very simple explanation that doesn't even take long to explain, but all value systems are expansionist. At least any value system that has played any role significantly in human history has been expansionist. And it makes sense. Because if you have an understanding of what is right and wrong, you have an understanding of what is good for people and what is evil for people, then part and parcel of having that commitment is wanting others to abide by that, abide by those beliefs, abide by that morality or that system of good. So this is ubiquitous. All major moral systems have this kind of expansionist, value. And it's not that every single part of the moral system has to be imposed on everyone. That's not what it means to be expansionist. Expansionism just means that there are certain moral truths that are so important that we have to have others abide by them, right? And if you look at the definition of what does it mean to be good, what does it mean to be evil, these terms, you have all this diversity in cultures and religions and in philosophy in defining what it means to be good, what it means to be evil. But all religions, all philosophies agree that there are certain evils, some evils that are so wrong that they have to be stopped by force, or they have to be prevented by force. So that's something universal across all systems. Once you get the atheists to acknowledge that their values are expansionist, just theoretically, conceptually, then that makes a lot of things easier. Because I don't know why, it's part of this self-delusion of liberalism that they think that they're the only value system that doesn't impose itself on others. Which is complete nonsense, because the reality is that liberalism is the most brutal, is the most controlling, has imposed the most amount of sheer control on the human population in all of history, which is really crazy, especially when you think about things like lockdown. We just came out, most of the world, of a complete lockdown for 2 months, where military was deployed onto the streets to make sure people stay in their homes. So that's imposition, okay? That's the epitome of imposition. It doesn't matter if you actually believe in whether that imposition is justified or not. It's imposition, right? And Muslims are, we can be internally coherent about this, right? We can say that, look, imposition of Islam is justified because Islam is good, and Islam is our theory of what is right and wrong, and all of these evils, such as shirk, such as kufr, such as zina, such as riba, such as all of these things, khamr, alcohol and drugs and intoxicants, all of these things are evil. And these other values are good, and it doesn't really matter if you agree or you believe those things. If you believe in Islam, that's irrelevant. You could be suffering from some irrationality. Maybe you're just a stubborn person. That doesn't matter. We still need to impose a certain moral order. And that moral order can tolerate certain things, like historically Islamic empire did tolerate different religions, different belief systems, definitely tolerated every race, every ethnicity, but the same exact thing structurally, logically, morally occurs in the world today, except to a much higher degree, where it doesn't matter if you think that COVID-19 is dangerous or not. It doesn't matter what you believe about global warming. It doesn't matter what you believe about anything, really. You have to obey the law. The law is imposed on you. And of course, there's all these background theories and background assumptions on what justifies that theory of the good. The liberal, secular person will appeal to science, some conception of science, some conception of what is logical or what makes sense or what is undisputed. And Muslims can argue on those terms as well as other terms, such as, the nature of life. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? So, but it's once you establish that the liberal secular order is also imposed, and you break that kind of delusion or that fantasy that liberalism doesn't impose anything, then it's smooth sailing, inshallah, after that in these kinds of conversations.
وكل مجاهد لله بأهل البلد يا الله